the first 2 minutes, I'll know exactly whether or not a deal can be.
Trump is motivated by the feeling he may yet win a Nobel Peace Prize.
The US president has issued a warning to the Russian president, saying that there will be severe consequences for Putin if he does not agree to stop the war in Ukraine after Friday's summit in Alaska.
Russia face any consequences if Vladimir Putin does not agree to stop the war after your meeting on Friday?
Yes, they will. Yeah.
What will the consequences
there will be
be?
consequences.
Sanctions, tariffs?
There will be, I don't have to say, there will be very severe consequences.
Trump's remarks came hours after his meeting with the European leaders. He rated the meeting a 10 and said that he is not the one who kept Zelenskyy away from the Alaska meeting.
We had a very good call. He was on the call. President Zelenskyy was on the call. I would rate it a 10, you know, very, very friendly. I know the leaders because I was at NATO, as you know. I took it from 2% to 5%, 2% that wasn't paid, 5% that is paid. Which is trillions of dollars in defense capability. No, it was always going to be, I was going to meet with President Putin, and then after that, I'm going to call the leaders and President Zelenskyy.
European leaders urged Donald Trump to press Vladimir Putin to agree to a ceasefire and a meeting with Zelenskyy when he sits down with the Russian president on Friday. Trump said that he will be talking to Zelenskyy and European leaders after meeting with Putin. He added that he is open for a trilateral with Zelenskyy and Putin.
It was always going to be, I was going to meet with President Putin, and then after that, I'm going to call the leaders and President Zelenskyy. I'm going to call President Zelenskyy, and then I'll call, probably in that order, the leaders. There's a very good chance that we're going to have a second meeting, which will be more productive than the first, because the first is I'm going to find out where we are and what we're doing.
Donald Trump made it clear that he does not expect a significant outcome from the first meeting. He said the first meeting will set the tone, and the significant outcome can be expected in the second meeting. But he also made it clear that the second meeting won't take place if the first does not go well. The US Treasury Department has temporarily lifted sanctions on financial transactions with Russia to facilitate the summit between Trump and Putin in Alaska. This authorization is valid until August 20th, which allows for transactions necessary for the meeting to proceed without legal or regulatory barriers. Now, with a proposal from Europe on the table and clear red lines being drawn between Russia and Ukraine, the common ground between Russia and Ukraine at this point seems far away from the battleground. And earlier, I had interacted with Dr. John Blaxland from Washington, D.C. He's a professor of international security and intelligence studies at the Strategic and Defense Studies Center. Here's what he said on this.
President Trump has a lot on the line here. Reputationally, he's the one who's invited Putin to the United States, even though there are criminal charges against Putin. He is putting the American reputation on the line, if you like. President Putin is in a position where his troops have just made a bit of a breakthrough in the Donbass, and they are probably in a position where they're thinking, we've got a stronger hand here than we've had for a while, so we don't need to make too many concessions. Of course, conversely, we've seen that Donald Trump has been imposing additional secondary sanctions on India for the purchase of Russian oil, and there's talk of more severe sanctions following. Exactly what that would look like hasn't been articulated, and it's hard to be clear on what would be imposed that wouldn't have negative consequences on the United States as well. Mindful that the other major oil purchaser from Russia is Iran, of course, but also China, and China is in a very strong position in terms of its negotiating position with the United States, and having just been given an extension on the trade deal that they're proposing to reach to avoid or to reduce tariffs. So it's a delicate balance, but Putin has a slight advantage here. And of course, Volodymyr Zelenskyy is deeply concerned about what President Trump might agree to.